Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest in the mining industry. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Sashni.
Now, it is imperative for government, business and labour to launch a global campaign to highlight the huge importance of South Africa's platinum group metals in the fight against climate change.
You know, I think that the world needs to know how important these metals are. We also need to know that the world is saying these metals are quite expensive and can we use less of them? And we should be moving with the world to try and thrift the use, to go into research, but make sure that these metals are used, that they don't start choosing something else, because these metals have proved themselves. We can give them stable production, and we can give them stable material in the volume that they need. You can see how the people now are seeing that demand is building, they're starting to expand. So the response is good. And the communication among the platinum group metals mines is very good in South Africa, and that includes Zimbabwe. We take that in as well. So this is the world's biggest producer. This is where you get it from. I think that we need to work together very, very intensely soon, where the private sector and the public sector have a roadshow into the key areas of the world to persuade them how important these metals are to the future of mitigating climate change, and to admit that we need to do our job of trying to thrift and try to encourage thrifting as much as we can, because this will mean that if we can give them reliable supply and we can have them using less of it so it's not so expensive, this is going to take them well into the future. And we can see that you need the platinum group metals to produce hydrogen. Okay, we want that sun and wind and water to create the green energy, but once you've got that, you can use your iridium and your platinum to actually generate the hydrogen. When you've got that green hydrogen, you've then got a clean and green future that actually is the zero emission that climate change needs. And that hydrogen, again, is turned back into electricity with platinum and ruthenium. So we really need to make the world very, very aware of this. Right around the world, you can see everyone's going into this area. Let us play our part as well.
And it was right for Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe to praise major investments that South Africa's mining companies have announced.
I think Gwede was right. Say to these guys, you've done well. With Sibanye-Stillwater putting 6.8 billion into K4, that's a good thing to do. We see that the Two Rivers with African Rainbow Minerals also big investment into there. We see Impala putting an investment. He was praising this, and I think it's important at the moment because some people are saying we're going to have a decade-long period of good demand. Other people are saying no, it's not so well. But you can see everybody is recognizing that if you don't have this material available and the price spikes, you're going to be in serious trouble. So make sure that you expand now, that you've got enough material, you've got enough platinum group materials going in there, so that there's no market destruction, and that you make sure that you're meeting this demand, which we can all see from the projections is going to be much higher. So it was good for him to encourage people to get into investment now, so that they don't hesitate. We've had some companies growing very well. Northam has been doing it for a long period now, but others have gone through a bad patch and they've tended to cut back, and they're all talking about capital allocation and dividends. And I think that the big thing is to increase the value of those shares at the moment. This constant wanting dividends, I think, really, we don't need that huge cry for dividends at the moment. That must be a very balanced dividend situation, only from free cash. But of course the investors are also, they've had a hard time, so they're looking for something back. But I think propaganda must go out to show how your value can increase by the share value lifting, not so much the dividends. We had that terrible situation with Rand Mines, where you just kept paying out these dividends. The next minute you go into a big hole and you're finished. Because let's face it, if you haven't got the reserve base, you keep on reducing your reserve base and your ability to produce, that share value is going to go down. Surely the shareholders don't want that, or they're so short-sighted that they just want to every week do something. We know we all got our provident funds in these things. We know we want them to to do well. But wouldn't it be great if the value of the share lifts dramatically, rather than, you're paying out dividends and it goes up and comes down? So I think that they should really have a good campaign now to show that growth in this industry is important.
And lastly, South Africa as a whole must put its foot down firmly against the ongoing official tardiness that is preventing essential economic growth and employment creation.
Now, when you think of the hydrogen advantage we had, far-seeing science and technology ministers and the science and technology department, 2012, they were already working on hydrogen. 2013, we were already producing green hydrogen from the sun. We should be way ahead. But we tend to get stuck in a bit of a rut, and you see other countries now streaking ahead. I mean, you see Australia with a minister of hydrogen. You see the events they're having. You see the particular Fortescue company there going hell-bent into actually using that green hydrogen to produce steel. That'll be fantastic for Australia. Can you imagine Australia producing green steel? It's got so much iron ore. And what do you want to produce? Iron ore, send out the iron ore, or send out steel, if you can create that market, and if you can create a green market. So they're tending to get ahead of us because we are so slow. Now, I'm very pleased that the Minister Gwede Mantashe spoke about hydrogen at the PGMs Industry Day. It is important to do that and to say how Mintech has been involved, how we are far advanced in this. But we need to really be far advanced. And that far advance is, I think, what Australia is doing at the moment. They're really going. And you see it also, in Europe, and you see it in California, and you see it around the place. So I don't think we should allow these delays. I listened to some of the people at the PGMs Industry Day, and some of them were particularly big investors, were saying, it's a travesty that we always get caught in a big delay and we start falling behind. So South Africa Incorporated needs to move forward, because sometimes, the private sector will have the capacity, but the government may not have the capacity. Let them work together for the good of the country so that we can create wealth and jobs.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Stashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.